Hi, welcome back to Grains in Small Places. And today I wanted to do a recipe that was submitted by one of you guys. So I get recipes sent to me a lot, so I can't always do all of them, but I decided to go ahead and pick one that really sounded good, especially for this time of year. So today we're going to be making a lemon blueberry pie bar. So let's get started. This recipe is originally from iambaker.net is the blog that it came from. I'll put a link to that recipe in the description box below, but I'm going to, of course, turn this into a fresh milled flour recipe. So I will be putting the link to the fresh milled flour version in the description box below as well. Okay, so I have printed off the recipe that was sent to me by one of you guys, and I thought this just might be a fun idea, something that we could do together, maybe randomly once a month or something. If I get some recipes sent to me, maybe I could just kind of do like viewer's choice or something like that. I thought this could be kind of fun. So let me know down in the comments below if you like this idea, if you want me to try to incorporate this a little bit into my YouTube channel, I guess, that you guys could send me some recipes and maybe I could turn them into fresh milled flour and then we can just have fun together in the kitchen. Okay, so the first thing this recipe calls for is to make the crust. So it's calling for all-purpose flour. We could either use our all-purpose flour blend that I have or just soft white wheat. This looks like it's pretty similar idea. It's this lemon blueberry pie bars to my lemon bars or something like that. So I think I'm just gonna use the soft white wheat today. And we're gonna go ahead and weigh that out. And as we weigh those wheat berries out, that will give us that much in flour. So this recipe is actually written out in weight, so that actually helps us quite a bit because when it's written out by weight, then it's a little bit more accurate as to being able to just weigh out my wheat berries. But if we're going by volume, something happens in translation. So if you're using soft white wheat, you almost always need about a quarter cup more of the flour of soft white wheat than what, say, an all-purpose recipe calls for, or even a fresh milled flour recipe if it's written for a different wheat berry. This is kind of mostly just for soft white, some and maybe soft red as well, but all the other ones are a little bit different. So I do have a wheat berry like weight chart on my blog, and it's like a little PDF. You can print it off in my printable library, and it goes over the weight of like 1 cup of wheat berries. That doesn't necessarily help for baking purposes, but it lets you see that 1 cup of wheat berries for all of the like different wheats weigh just a little bit differently. So I guess that's kind of more information important for like us science nerds. Okay, so I want to zero out my scale. Make sure we zero that out because that is something that I forgot, and some other people that have messaged me with some issues, then they're like, oh my goodness, I forgot to zero out my scale. So after I put my weighing vessel on there. So this calls for, so it says 2 cups of flour, 250 grams of all-purpose flour. So that obviously is for all-purpose flour. Being that we're using soft white wheat, I'm gonna go ahead and add that quarter cup volume twice because that's per cup, and this is 2 cups. So it's gonna give me 2.5 cups of flour, but I'm just going by weight, the 250 grams, but it should equal out to being pretty close to that. So let's go 250 grams. $251, I'll take it. And we'll head on over to the mill. Now, we are going to be milling some soft white wheat twice, once for the crust and once for the crumble. If you want to mill it all at once, you can just add the two together and mill them all at once. I'm gonna go ahead and mill them separately. I have my mill set up over there on my counter all the time, so it's milling quite often. So we'll head on over to the mill. I'm using my Nutri-Mill Harvest Grain Mill, and I have a coupon code to share with you. The coupon code is GRAINY, and you can save $20 off your mill as well. Or if you're not interested in this mill, they also have a classic grain mill, which is a steel mill. It's a little bit differently and a little bit cheaper as well. and you can grab $20 off of that, or even the Bosch mixers. Okay, and here is our freshly milled soft white wheat for the crust, and we're going to go with my old trusty little mini compact mixer. Now, some of you wondered if I still have this and still use it. Yes, I do. I use it for my smaller jobs, and my other mixer is a little busy right now. So we're gonna go ahead and use an oldie but a goodie. Sadly, this mixer has been discontinued, but if they ever bring it back, I will probably be the first in line to try out the new model. Great mixer for small spaces, or, you know, arthritic hands, or not being able to carry anything heavily. So I think that there is a space in the market for something like this. So you could probably do this without a mixer, but I'm going to go ahead. In the recipes written, it says just to do it in a bowl. I'm just going to go ahead and put my flour in the mixer, because this is how I do it for my lemon bars. I probably could just use my pastry cutter in this bowl where I milled the flour and then just cut the butter up there. But hey, what's the fun in that? So I've got 2 sticks of unsalted butter. They're cold. I did not let these sit out. I pulled them right from my refrigerator. So I'm gonna go ahead and just open these up and lightly cube them to give my mixer a little break or help. As you can see, I kind of don't have a lot of countertop space to work with, so I guess you just work with what you got. You can't always have, you know, the fanciest tools or the biggest kitchens or anything like that, and it's okay. You don't need all of that fancy stuff to make delicious food, even if it's, you know, fresh milled flour. Obviously, you need space for a mill, but other than that, you don't have to have everything super fancy. So I'm just really roughly cubing this butter. I guess I should have put the powdered sugar in with the flour first so that it could mix to incorporate. So I think I'll do that before I add this next stick of butter. So this is 1 cup of butter. I will make sure the recipe in the link will have the volume and weights for you, like I try to do with all of my recipes. Whoops. And I'll also put a link to the original recipe here to give that person some credit too, because they did some hard work to write up this recipe, and I don't want to discredit them. So let's go ahead and add in our powdered sugar. Okay, so we're gonna add in 2/3 cup of powdered sugar, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing we did with the butter here. Let's give this a little mix. We're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and this crust is going to bake for about 15 to 18 minutes. Alrighty. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to push this up here and then grab a 9x13 baking pan, which this is the closest to a 9x13 baking pan that I own. We're going to line it with parchment paper. And I have run out of my cooking spray, so I'm just going to put just a little bit of olive oil on here. And rub that around. Just making sure I get it up the sides. And then another reason I decided to go ahead and use the mixer was because I was going to need to use a mixer for the inside portion anyway, so I'll just rinse that out. This we're going to just spread. I hope my pan's big enough. Okay, we'll see how this goes. Just press this, looks like, down into the pan. And obviously as this cooks, the butter will melt. So maybe this is more like a sweet pie crust rather than a shortbread cookie like the lemon bars, but it's very, very similar. I guess I had a little bit of oil on my hands too. Okay, I'm gonna just wash my hands real quick. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven. And while that starts cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse this out so that we can start on the filling. Okay, I need a lot of lemon zest, so I'm gonna go ahead and zest these 2 large lemons, and I think that should give me enough, and then I'm going to juice them. Now, when you're zesting, you wanna make sure that you don't go all the way through to the white part because that's where it gets really bitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my time to zest these out. Okay, so our crust is now par baked. So I'm just gonna set this to the side. That looks pretty good. And this is gonna be what we end up adding the filling to. So I'm gonna let this just cool for maybe a few minutes while we finish our filling. So we're going to need about 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon zest for the filling. And then we're also going to need some for the crumble topping. So it really depends on how much you like. I may need to zest another lemon. We'll see how much juice we get out of these because I also need the juice for the filling and the juice for the lemon glaze. So I'm just gonna set the zest things to the side and I'll see how much juice I get from these because I may end up needing a third one anyway. Let me go ahead and just get the seeds out of here. Okay, that gave me enough juice for the filling, but not for the lemon glaze. So I think we may end up perfect with 3 lemons. Just gonna go ahead and zest this. I got a wee bit smaller one. That'll give me enough lemon juice and enough lemon zest for both the glaze, well, I guess all 3. The glaze, the crumble, and the filling. So this is very lemony. Perfect for this time of year. That bright, fresh, crisp flavor. I love the smell of lemons when we're zesting lemons. It just has such a fresh, clean smell, I guess. Okay. Gonna set this to the side. Go back to juicing this. I saw I missed a few seeds, so I'm gonna go ahead and strain that out before I use it. And while we were waiting on baking the crust, before I did that, I went ahead and rinsed about 3 cups of blueberries. So these are fresh blueberries. I'm not sure if this would work with frozen or not. The recipe calls for fresh. Okay, I'm just gonna strain this out because I know I saw some seeds go in there. Okay. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna set that to the side as well. Now, before I started this recipe, I went ahead and pulled out some cream cheese so that those can come to room temperature. You could, of course, make your own cream cheese from scratch. I do have a video on how to turn your yogurt into homemade cream cheese if you want to do that. Today, I went ahead and just grabbed some cream cheese because I did not have any yogurt or anything made so that I could quickly put this recipe together. So we're going to use 2 of the packages of cream cheese, and we want it to be softened, not melted, of course, because if it's not softened, then the cream cheese is not going to melt in with the rest of our ingredients. It's going to be more like a hunk of solid cream cheese here and a hunk of solid cream cheese here. So just a tip, anytime you're cooking with anything that's kind of like a cheesecake or anything where you want that smooth cream cheese or cream cheese buttercream, you need to make sure that the cream cheese is softened. Otherwise, you will get that mismatched hunks all throughout whatever you're mixing. Alrighty, and to that we're gonna add 2/3 cup of sugar, and we're going to mix that together slowly to start with. Okay, this says beat on medium speed until smooth and creamy. This could take about 2 minutes. They say you could use a hand mixer, so whatever is more convenient for you. In fact, I also had pulled out my eggs and my yogurt. This recipe says you can use sour cream or yogurt. So I had some vanilla yogurt. I went ahead and pulled that out. So let's go ahead and beat this for 2 minutes on medium. I'm going to add in here that we should probably scrape down our sides as needed. All right, that looks nice and smooth. So now I'm going to add in my yogurt and or sour cream. So in this case, like I was saying, I have some vanilla yogurt. And again, I have a recipe for homemade yogurt. So you could make your vanilla yogurt and then strain some of it out and make your cream cheese all for this recipe homemade if you wanted to. I'll try to remember to put a link to that video in the description box below for you. We're going to use a teaspoon of vanilla. Let me get a better, it looks like my mixers. Okay, hopefully that's better. A teaspoon of vanilla, and sadly I have run out of my homemade vanilla. I had to buy some. I actually haven't had to buy vanilla for like, I don't know, years. So I went ahead and purchased some vanilla. I did buy some rum to try out homemade vanilla with rum, but as you know, that takes 6 months. I should have got it started sooner. I just never made it to the store. We aren't big drinkers, so I don't go to the liquor store often or even remember to go down the alcohol aisle very often at all. So I have some rum. Eventually we'll have our homemade vanilla. It'll just take a minute. All right, so we're gonna mix those in and then we'll add our eggs. Okay, and it says to add eggs in one at a time. Now I did pull my eggs out as well so that everything's room temperature. So what happens if a recipe calls for something room temperature, there's a reason for it. It may not blend properly. So what would happen is if we did good and we got our cream cheese to room temperature, but then we added in cold yogurt and cold eggs, it would then seize it up the same way. So you want to make sure to try to remember to get those room temperature when it says to. So here's one, whoop, got a little piece of shell. Luckily it's up here. 1 egg, but I guess all that to say, sometimes when we feel like there might be an issue with a recipe, sometimes the recipe itself may not be the problem. It may be the method or the technique or just one of those little tiny fine print things that we're like, oh, we'll just skip that part or whatever. But it may be a reason for that that could mess with the science, because baking is also kind of a science. So if we mess with just one little thing, it could make a big difference in our outcome. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. All right, let's put that down and mix that egg in. Okay, and this says scraping down sides as needed as well. This calls for some lemon zest. Hopefully I have enough. Okay, I have 2 tablespoons-ish of lemon zest, and then I just have this little bit left, and it's supposed to be 2 teaspoons, but I really don't want to zest another lemon. So I think it'll be just fine. And then 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll save this for the lemon glaze. And we'll mix that in. Nice and lemony. Scrape those sides down. Okay, that looks good. So what I'm going to do is put this filling to the side here. Let's Let's make sure everything looks good real quick, I guess. I can see those little bits of lemon zest in there. Smells nice and lemony. All right, so I'm gonna put this filling to the side while we work on the crumble top. And I'm gonna move this. All right, set this to the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and weigh out our wheat berries. So now we have the crust, the filling, the blueberries washed and ready to go. I'm gonna weigh out the stuff for the crumble topping. All right, we're going to use the soft white wheat again, and I'm going to measure out 125 grams. $126, I'll take it. Now I'm going to take this on over to my mill. Alrighty, and there that is. And I'm going to just use the same container and melt down a stick of butter for the crumble topping. We're going to continue baking this after we have it all assembled for 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 to 55 minutes. I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of powdered sugar to that. We're going to add in the rest of that lemon zest. I'm just going to try to get every extra bit here. And the rest of that. Did I mention that smells good? Alrighty, give that a little stir, and then I'll put that melted butter in. And this will make our crumble topping. And then we'll have all of our layers that need to go in before baking. And then it'll need to cool before we can put on the lemon glaze. Okay, so now we have the melted butter, and this is a crumble, so I'm just gonna kind of mix it as I pour it in. I guess this makes a thick crumble. Okay. More like a little loose batter. I don't know, maybe I should have milled just a little bit extra, I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm gonna mill a little extra flour because this doesn't look like a crumble to me. All right, I milled an additional 30 grams of soft white wheat so that maybe this will be a little more of a crumble than a paste. Of course, if you're using a blend or a hard white wheat, your amounts will be different. Okay, that's a little more like a crumble. Probably could use a little more flour, but I think I'm happy with that. Alrighty, so this is now cooled a little bit. I could put it straight on my counter. We're gonna go ahead and top this partially baked crust with the filling. The oven is ready to go as soon as I get this assembled. I feel like you could make a lot of different flavors with this little combo. You could use any, different berries, even jams would probably work. I do think that frozen blueberries would work for this recipe, but I have a feeling it would probably color your filling purple, so maybe that's why it calls for fresh blueberries. But this time of year, fresh blueberries are in season, so that's good to go. All right, I'm just evenly putting that through. Alrighty, this calls for 3 cups of blueberries just washed and put right on top of the filling. Looks like they're just kind of going throughout. When I first read this, I thought that 3 cups sounded like too much and that maybe we would only use 2 cups, but I think we'll make this work. This looks really good. Oh, well, I guess I could have saved some from garnish, but too late now for that. Okay, there's a couple in here I'm seeing that have seeds, or stems. Just want to pull the stems off if I see them. Not a big deal, but okay. I think that's good. You may see some and be screaming, wait, you missed one. I think I got them all, but if not, I guess we'll find out. Okay, I'm going to take this crumble now. So it did get a little crumblier just from letting that sit a minute. As we know, fresh milled flour does take a little while to absorb liquids. So just breaking up that crumble so it's not too pasty. And I think I'm going to just do this by hand. Okay, we're just going to crumble this on top. If you're not a lemon fan, I was thinking this would be really good without the lemon even, and then in this crumble, you could add even cinnamon, so it would be like a blueberry cobbler inspired cheesecake bar. I don't know what to call it, but something like that. And if you're one of the ones that has commented that you don't like me using my hands so much, I'm sorry, I might not be the channel for you because I do like to use my hands. I'm not making this food to sell or give to people. It's just my family enjoying this. And I can promise you, I probably wash my hands more than anyone you know.
That.
Hmm?
What is that? Looks amazing.
Thank you.
What is that? Where's the chocolate chips on top?
That's blueberries on lemon, like a lemon cheese cake. Okay. Wash my hands again. Okay, so carefully into the oven that goes. Wow, that looks good. We'll be back after it's done baking. Okay, here it is out of the oven. This looks incredible. So I need to let this cool for about 30 minutes on my counter before I could put it in the fridge. Then we need to let it cool in the fridge for 2 hours before we can put the vanilla glaze, or not vanilla, the lemon glaze on top. So I'll bring you back after this has cooled. Okay, so now that our lemon cheesecake blueberry pie bars are cooled in the fridge, it's time to make the lemon glaze. We're going to add a cup of powdered sugar. Okay, and of course you can sift that if you have lumps or anything like that. I have the rest of this lemon juice. I kind of just covered it and set it to the side so I didn't have any issues with anything. So I'm going to use about 1/2 teaspoon of that, which I may add a little bit more to that. And we're just adding a little tiny dot of our vanilla extract. It says 1/4 teaspoon. Don't want to go with too much of that. So I'm just going to give that a mix for the flavors, and then we'll add the milk to thin this out. And then this milk is room temperature, which is what it said that it called for. I'm not sure if this will be enough or not. We'll see. Okay, I'm definitely probably going to add some more milk to this. But one thing I am noticing with this whole recipe, I'm not sure if it'll come through on the recipe how it maybe be sweet. Now we do have lemon, we do have cream cheese, but there's no salt to balance anything here. So we'll find out if that ends up being an issue, but I definitely need more milk than that. Just gonna add a little bit more milk. See how that does. A little bit goes a long way when you're adding milk to powdered sugar. If yours ends up being way too thin, you can always add a little bit more powdered sugar to it. If it ends up being too thick, you can always add just a little bit more milk or even a little bit more of the lemon juice, depending on how lemony you want yours to be. Okay, so I think that's what we're looking for, is just it to drizzle, but still coat and stay on the back of my fork. So I like that. So I'll update that in the recipe too, that you may need a little bit more milk for this. Okay, so let me go ahead and grab those bars. All right, so these have been chilling for a little over 2 hours. So I'm trying to decide if I want to drizzle it on here now or save it for serving. I think I'm going to go ahead and drizzle a little bit on here. These were so good. They were a little on the sweet side. I don't even think they needed the lemon glaze, or maybe needed a little bit more of the lemon juice in the lemon glaze to make that tartness. Also, one thing that I would change is add just a pinch of salt to the crust and the crumble, or use salted butter. Either way, I think that that would help balance the flavors. But in the end, this was delicious. 2 thumbs up from the blueberry lovers in my house. Let me know in the comments if you try this. Also, let me know down below if you think it's a good idea to do kind of like a viewer's choice once a month, where I can set up something where you could send me recipes or something like that. We could randomly draw them, or if there's a whole bunch of the same one, maybe do those. I just think this could be kind of a fun idea. So let me know what you guys think. It's a little interactive. We can get more personable with each other. So let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today while we made one of your recipes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And thank you for stopping by Grains in Small Places. Goodbye.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.